I have my trusted mug of coffee, the one that says good vibes. I love this mug. I thought that today I would just do a very casual currently reading in which I also allow for myself to chat a little bit about the books and get into depth about them and my feelings, because sometimes when I do my reading vlogs I don't feel like I have the time to really explain my feelings about the books, just because that would make my reading vlogs way too long, and I realized I could just split them up into two, but I don't want to do that either. So basically this is the perfect time to catch up with you guys. This week is, after all, my spring break week. I have the whole week off from work, and that means lots of more time for reading and relaxing. So in this video I'm going to tell you about the 3 books I'm currently reading, and yeah, that's it. Let's have a taste. I will say that recently I switched from ordinary dairy milk to almond milk. I can't say that word. Almond milk. I hope you understand me. The reason for that is because the regular milk made my stomach hurt a little bit. So I tried changing it a little bit, and I have to say in the beginning I had to get used to the almond milk, but now it's become my favorite. I mean, it gives you that extra sweet taste to your milk, to your coffee, I mean, and also in general I just feel like my stomach agrees better with almond milk. So I'm happy I made that change. I feel out of breath. But basically I'm looking at my 3 books I'm currently reading, which I am very excited about. These books are books that I really want to read and really want to get more into, so hopefully that will happen. Hopefully I will have time to do that in the upcoming days. The first book I'm reading is this one, and this is a very recent release, The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. I started reading this one last night and I am already more than 100 pages into it. I love it because of so many reasons. First of all, this is set in Alaska. It's about this family who consists of a mother, a father and their daughter, who is 13 years old. The father is a Vietnam War veteran, and he was actually a prisoner of war. So ever since he has returned home, he has suffered from nightmares, and his temperament has been all over the place, and his daughter Laurie kind of fear him, even though she can also see that her mother loves him dearly and really wants for everything to be all right with the family, and she struggles to help that come along. Let me just have a sip. But in the beginning of the book, they are not in Alaska. They are set in Oregon, I believe, or near Seattle. I'm not sure. They are kind of not forced, but they decide to move to Alaska. And this poor girl has already moved so many times. She's been the new girl in so many schools, but she decides to just go along with it. After all, this is her parents and she doesn't have a lot to say, but she doesn't feel too great about this decision. That is until she arrives in Alaska, which is this very intriguing landscape that is so beautiful but also so dangerous. The father gives her a book about Alaska before they go, and this book tells you about so many ways that you can die in Alaska. Being eaten by a bear, for instance, or hunger, or wolves, or whatever. There are so many dangers out there in Alaska. It's kind of intriguing to live here, and to the reader it's very intriguing to read about the beauty of the landscape, which I can vividly imagine because of the author's amazing writing, but also the dangers, and it makes me wonder if I would ever want to live there myself. This place they're going to feels like the end of the world, basically, so they are almost all alone, but then again there are other people surrounding them, helping them, and that's where I'm at. They have just settled in Alaska and winter is coming, so they have to gather a lot of provision and be ready for winter. So yeah, needless to say, I'm enjoying this immensely and I kind of can't wait to get back to it. So this one I picked up because it's been on my shelves for a long time now, and it's been recommended to me by a co-worker, and also it's part of the 18 books list that I made for myself of books that I want to read in 2018. So I felt like now was the time. This book is about a dysfunctional family. In the beginning of the book, we are introduced to this family through a death that takes place, and then we get to know especially Tabitha, who is the maniac of the family. And also basically this family comes with so many members that it's kind of an introduction in the beginning, but I hope that later on we will get more into depth with those characters. I'm about 150 pages into it, and so far we have gotten to know a few of the family members very well, but there are still some left, so I assume that will come in the upcoming pages. And then this book is also about a writer who has no connection to this family, besides from the fact that he has decided to write the family history of this dysfunctional family. And his narrative is actually the one I'm the most intrigued about. I feel like the descriptions about his narrative are so compelling. There are some scenes in this book that are already some of my favorite literary scenes. There is one scene about a trip in a subway during rush hour and during a meltdown of everything electronic, if that makes sense. And that scene really impressed me. So yeah, I'm intrigued about this book. It's written in different genres. We get some articles, we get some normal prose, we get some interviews, so it's kind of a mix max of different genres, but I feel like that's what keeps the pace going, and I like it for that. It's also interesting because one of the family members that we get to know about, there was a whole chapter dedicated to him about, well, his view on life and his interests, and basically his interests are politics, and I'm not that much into politics. So that chapter felt very long, but at the same time I was happy to have it because it really made me aware of his view on life and what kind of a person he is. So even though it was a bit dragging to read about him, it was also important, I think. And then last but not least, I just want to mention that the title didn't really make sense to me in the beginning, but apparently there is a horror movie out called This, What a Carve Up, which is what the book is also based on. I'm not going to tell you how that is, but to carve up something apparently means to cut up something or someone. That's what I found out after all. And then also, as I said, it's the title of a movie that is actually out. So that's the second book I'm currently reading. And then the last book is very different as well. So I'm very pleased to read 3 books that are so different from each other, because it kind of keeps the books apart in my head so that I can remember them and get back to them when I'm in the mood for them. But the last book I'm reading is this one, The 12th by Justin Cronin. This is the second book in a trilogy. I read the first book, The Passage, last month. And I will say it was very intriguing. This is a dystopian series, and I kind of felt like reading dystopian, and you definitely get that with this series. But the first book didn't, well, some parts impressed me, but others didn't, and in the end I just felt like it was an okay read. But I felt like in order to not forget the narrative, I had to quickly move on to the second book. That's another thing I found out about myself, that I'm not much into series. I prefer to read books that are standalones so that I can get into the story and also get a conclusion immediately. I don't like it when series continue and continue, because you are kind of forced to read them, or I am at least, in order to not forget them. So you're kind of forced to read them right away, and I don't think I like that. Anyway, I'm reading this now. I was about to give up because the beginning of the book once again had one of those very detailed descriptions of an escape from the zombies. Basically, this is a book about an apocalyptic world in which zombies have invaded us and everyone is turning into these zombies that eat each other. Basically, that's what it's about. But what I like about it is the characters. They are so vividly described. I like a lot of them and I love reading about them. And thankfully, this book also comes with some new characters, which I really care for. So I am going to continue, but this series I'm reading very, very slowly. I'm only reading it just to not forget it, but it's not on the top of my priority list. So it's enjoyable, but it is also, well, it makes me feel claustrophobic and depressed because of this world and this setting. But I do enjoy it somewhat, especially those passages that are highlights in my eyes about the characters. And yeah, so this is the third book I'm currently reading. I need another sip of coffee. So yeah, these are my reading plans, and I just hope I will be able to really get into all of these stories in the upcoming week. Not finish them necessarily, I want to enjoy them, but these are my priorities for the week, and I'm very excited about all 3 books because, as I said, they are so different and I enjoy myself reading all of them. So that is actually it for my Chatty currently reading. I hope you enjoyed this, and let me know in the comments if you've read any of these books or what you're currently reading. I would like to know. And until my next video, have a great day, happy reading, and treat yourself with a good mug of something, tea or coffee, you decide, or chocolate even. That sounds really delicious. But basically, have a great day everyone, and happy reading.